Dreamers everywhere. Welcome to the Dueling Disney podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Andee Zomerman.
And I'm the other one of your hosts, Andee.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. And it's like 2 weeks after New Year. So are we talking about happy calendar New Year or happy lunar New Year? Because that's on its way.
Both.
Nice.
Yay. Because that's how we roll.
Yes. It's been a while.
I know.
We've been on holiday. I mean, are we allowed a holiday?
You had a great holiday. You went on a cruise for a holiday.
I did.
That's fun.
And to New York City, where I did all the New York City stuff. With a cane.
Yeah. So you looked dashing and dapper.
Yeah. Well, that's the way my life is. You know, I get older and I look more distinguished. I get gray in my beard and it looks more distinguished. I get better looking as I age.
And you're still comfortable not doing a Disney cruise.
Yeah. Disney cruises, let me be clear. I love cruises. They're great. Disney cruises are not geared for the solo traveler.
I know.
And they are twice as expensive as anybody else's cruise.
I know.
It's just not I am such a Disney fan that I have a Disney podcast, and it's still like double. It's like double. I cannot justify double the cost.
How is traveling solo? Like you went on didn't other solo people go, or wasn't it like
that part was really cool. So I sailed before Carnival briefly and Royal Caribbean a lot. This is my first time on Norwegian. And the reason I went on Norwegian is because they have solo cabins and a solo sort of meetup area. Yeah. So everybody in your area is also a solo traveler. And I was really excited about that because then I could go down and sort of like hang out with other people who are traveling. And so if we wanted to do excursions with somebody or have dinner with somebody, it was great. And I loved it. But I think that here's the thing I learned is it doesn't matter. There's always certain types of people. And so there's certain types of people when you're going on solo travel who go on solo travel and really don't want to be solo. And so their whole goal is to make sure that everybody is together all the time, 100% of the time. And they don't understand that sometimes I do want to hang out with the group. And sometimes the reason I travel solo is I just want to be by myself.
Yep.
And so even more pressure than when you're with a group of friends to be like, hey, we're all going to dinner at this restaurant tonight. Oh, that's cool. I'm going to go to dinner at this restaurant. Well, why?
Oh.
Because I wanna, and the whole reason I travel by myself is because I get to do what I want to do. Well, then we'll all shift and go where you're going. Well, that's even worse. I don't want that.
Oh man.
But
okay.
As a solo traveler, I very much enjoyed it, and that part, the difficult part of it, wasn't the cruise line's fault. It's just human beings are human beings, and
I know,
and honestly, that's not a bad thing to do. That's what that person, that's their disposition. So it's not like they were evil or bad or anything. Mm-hmm. But it's just one of those things for me. I'm like, yeah, I travel solo not because I don't have other choices.
It would be me if I was on that. I'd want everybody to be together all the time. I wouldn't want anybody to be left out ever. Yeah.
And we literally, another passenger and I, who I got along with, had to sit her down and go like, some people actually like that and feel really pressured when you sort of make a big deal about them being by themselves when they kind of wanted that. And now they feel like they can't do that.
That's funny. Was this another guest, or was this like a cruise director?
No, it was another guest. The cruise director was just working his behind off.
Okay.
I mean, it was because there's a lot of solo travelers because they have a whole section for it, and there's 20 or 30. And part of the challenge was people would say part of his job, not the full cruise director, but they had a person assigned to the solos. Mm-hmm. And people would say, he'd like, well, do you want me to make reservations for groups? And 4 people would say, yeah, we'd like reservations. And then it would go from 4 to 8 to 20. And he was like, I can't make reservations for 20 at a restaurant in a half an hour. Like, that's not.
That was horrible.
So I really felt for him because I was like, ooh, this is an awful job. Like, and I don't know if it changes per cruise because this was one of those things. And again, I don't think all those 20 people cared that they did reservations together, but there was one or two people who were just like, well, we have to do everybody together. We don't want anybody left out. And I was like, and you know this, I'm a fairly comfortable guy traveling solo. And I often find people who really don't understand that, just really feel like they have to, that it's the kind thing to do. I'll tell a quick story before we get to our Disney content, but I was on a cruise a few years back at having breakfast, reading a book. And you know how you're at the end of a book and you have like 5 pages left?
I know it very well.
And I was just sitting there reading my book, eating my breakfast, and there was a family sitting at the table next to me. And the dad was like, oh, you're traveling by yourself? Feel free to join us. I was like, oh, no, thank you. I appreciate it. I'm just at the end of this book and finishing my meal, and I appreciate the invitation, but, thank you, but I'm going to stay by myself. And for the next 15 minutes, he wouldn't leave me alone, and he wouldn't let it go. Like, in his brain, there was no world in which I wanted to like be by myself, and I couldn't finish the book. And finally, I got up to leave, and he was like, oh, are you leaving because of us? And I'm generally not a person to say anything.
Oh, you didn't.
And I did say, I said, oh, I'm not leaving because of you all. Your family's very kind. You, on the other hand, wouldn't listen when I said I was fine by myself. I've got 5 pages left in this book, which I haven't been able to finish. So I'm not leaving because of your family. I'm definitely leaving because of you.
Oh, you did not say that to his face.
One of those things that you could only do on a cruise, because I was like, I'm never going to see these people again. There's 4,000 people on the ship. I'm never going to see these people again. But I felt like it was my responsibility to, like, whatever your mindset about how the world works, no, like, and it was really like, that's about you. There's something going on within you.
That's crazy.
That just really needs, to make me uncomfortable. But that's all right. I don't care. It was, I had a good vacation. And honestly, I was in New York for 2 days before the cruise, and the New York part was actually so much like, I loved being on the cruise, but all I did on the cruise was sleep and go to the beach. The New York part was super awesome because I went and saw The Music Man with Wolverine, and I went and saw this wonderful musical called A Strange Loop. That is
I really want to
not
see
Disney
it.
Content.
No. But
it's
I do
incredibly
want to see
not Disney content, but it was really good. It was one of the best things I've ever seen.
That's good, because it got a lot of awards. So
yeah, and it wasn't enough to keep it going, but I was really glad I got a chance to see it. And
wait, you mean it stopped?
I think this week might be the last performances.
No way!
I mean, they won the best musical. They won the best musical Tony, but it wasn't enough to keep the show going. Although when I went, it was sold out. So, yeah, I had great tickets too. Wow. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I love New York. All right.
You should put that on a shirt.
Yeah.
You all travel too, and I understand you had no travel difficulties at all.
I know. Wait, but before we go on to that, and that does have to do with my Disney week. But look what shirt I'm wearing, and I didn't even know you were going to talk about.
Nice. New York. New York. The city's so nice. They named it twice.
Yes, the people just listening and not on the YouTube channel right now, I am wearing my Disney Spirit jersey that I got in New York. It's got my little mouse head on the front. On the back, it says New York. I didn't even know. Which is so
funny, because I went to the Disney store in New York to look for New York specific Disney merch, and I didn't have anything.
Are you serious? We got so much stuff when we were there last time.
Nope. Nothing.
Chicago and New York. Wow. Weird.
Nothing that I could find anyway. Maybe. I mean, you know how the Disney store is. There's not a lot of stuff for guys at the Disney store, so the guy clothes section is really tiny.
Yeah, you need to take me with you. That's why.
Well, sure.
Anyway. So yes, our travels were weird.
Yeah. Now I've been to travel a lot and return home the day before everything went crazy. Like literally, I got home at 11:30 on the 23rd, and the worst thing that happened is it took my bag a day to get back, and then the 24th of December. All heck broke loose with travel in the United States.
Crazy. Just crazy. Yeah. So we were going to take our little empty nester Christmas trip to Palm Springs, which was great. It was so relaxing, so wonderful. And then on the day we were supposed to fly out Christmas Day to spend Christmas with my family here in Portland. And then Christmas Eve, we got the note saying that our flight was canceled. So we're like, okay, well, we're going to make the best of it. They could fly us out of Santa Ana a couple days later. So we went, got a hotel, spent Christmas with Emma and her boyfriend, Fernando, and Fernando's family. That was great.
And there were tamales.
And there were tamales, which were the best tamales I've ever had in my life.
Tamales on Christmas. Oh, it's the best.
And then we were supposed to fly out on Tuesday. And Tuesday morning, it was canceled. So there were issues, but we got them worked out, and we ended up staying there for another week. So we didn't come home until New Year's Day.
That is insane.
I know.
It was delayed for a week, and you all had to come up with the hotel. They reimbursed you, but you all had to come up with the hotel and stuff like that. What would have happened if you couldn't have afforded it?
I don't know.
A hotel for a week.
There were people in the airport. I don't know.
I don't know that I could afford a hotel for a week, without planning for it.
Luckily we could. And we were staying in a Homewood Suites, so it was great because it had that little living room area, so Ed could still work. He didn't have to take days off work, and I was on break from school. So it turned out we were really lucky. The morning we got the cancellation text, I went downstairs to see if we could stay at the hotel, but they were completely booked. And so I said, can you just put me on a waiting list? Because if we can't get out, I'm sure people aren't getting in. And so I was on the top of that waiting list. And as soon as somebody called and canceled their reservation because they couldn't get in, then we were able to take that room. So we got lucky. And yeah, it was just a little bit extra vacation on Alaska's dime. I'm just lucky we didn't have the stress that most people had.
Yeah,
and so 100%. We were very fortunate. And that did lead into my Disney week, or my Disney, since we've seen each other last, is that, obviously we were in Orange County. So the logical thing for a Zomerman to do would be to hit a Disney park.
Sure.
But we decided against it. The crowds were insane.
The crowds between Christmas and New Year are nuts.
Yeah. And it would have been one thing if we could have gotten it for free on Emma's guest passes, but the last 2 weeks of December are blocked on guest passes and Magic Keys, so Fernando couldn't even get in.
Right.
Emma and the price point to get in for one day, one park, was $179 a person.
Oh my!
And that's not even worth it to me on the best day. I mean, I would have to have a VIP.
Yeah, you'd have to do one of the plaid. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing that is worth that to me. So, so we stayed out of the parks, went to downtown Disney, had a lovely time because we went while everybody else was in the parks. And as soon as people started filtering into downtown Disney, we left. So got a lot of Disney stuff done, did a lot of Disney shopping, which is what I do with the parks anyway. So come on.
Right.
I had my Disney trip.
I've seen you. It's a pretty intense experience.
It really is. So, I got all the Disney shopping done while everybody else was in the park. And yeah, that was good. So how about you? What Disney stuff? It's been a while.
The other thing that's happened is I've just moved to a new apartment. Mm-hmm. For those on YouTube.
Yes, we're talking to you in your bedroom rather than in your living room.
In my living room. And I apologize because you can see frames and boxes and all that sort of thing. And I promise for our YouTube viewers, that I'll make it better. But it took me a couple days to get the TV up and running. And the thing that I always do when I get either a new TV or when I get into a new place to sort of check the TV is I have one movie that I think is the most beautiful movie to sort of check to see what the TV looks like. And so I popped on Fantasia 2000.
Yeah, I knew it. I knew you were going to say that.
2000. And as soon as I popped that off, I didn't realize this had happened over the holidays, but I was so busy with the move and the vacation. Is the next thing that popped up was the Encanto live at the Hollywood Bowl.
Oh yeah.
Which if you haven't seen it, it's just wonderful. I popped that on and I was digging on that. And I just I was watching Stephanie Beatrice, who plays the lead character in that, doing her singing and dancing. And I love her from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and she has some great guest appearances on Modern Family. So I've loved her for a long time. And she was just dressed as a character, and you could just see on her face the joy of being on stage and singing those songs and playing that character. So it's just so much fun. So if folks haven't seen the Encanto live at the Hollywood Bowl, you should. There's also a Coco live, which I haven't had a chance to watch yet.
I saw the Coco live, so I haven't seen Encanto
I'm looking
yet.
forward to that one, but the Encanto was amazing. And Encanto is one of those things I'm like, every time I listen, I'm like, God, the music for Encanto is so good.
It really is.
And it's not just Bruno. It's like every song from that.
Lin-Manuel,
really
man.
good. I know, but I mean, I think he's going to have a career as a songwriter.
I think so too. He's got a promising future.
I love it's the song that was nominated but didn't win the Oscar Dos Oruguitos, which is entirely in Spanish, but it's such a good song. Like I get a little tear, a little manly Denzel Washington glory tear every time I hear that song. Just one tear that stoically rolls down one cheek.
Do you watch the show Supernatural at all?
I've watched one or two episodes. I watched I went out of my way to watch the Scooby-Doo crossover, which was amazing.
Okay, you did. You need to go out of your way to watch the musical when they did the musical Supernatural, because they have a song called A Single Man Tear. And so as soon as you said that, I had that song going through my head. Oh, yes. Travel things. Well, lots of changes are going on. Our travel changes. You changed apartments. Disney is changing for the better. People are excited. There's one thing, though, I did want to mention before we get into the exciting stuff that didn't make it on all the blogs, kind of made it into the business world of news. Bob Iger, as one of his first decisions back as CEO, is to ask all the people that were working remotely to come into the office at least 4 days a week now. So that it was 2 days a week. People are starting to come into the office now 4 days a week, which, some of us might not seem like a big deal at all. Right. And others who are used to working remotely now are like, son of a gun. So for Emma, I'm glad she was working. She lives in Orange County, but she was working in Burbank, Glendale. And so she was making that drive 2 days a week.
Which, if you're familiar with Southern California, is a monster.
Yeah, it's bad. So she just switched to another job, which is very timely for this, which is very close to her, right on Disney Park property. So I'm glad for that for her.
Yeah. And as someone who both works a hybrid schedule, so I'm in the office 3 days a week and working from home 2 days a week, and supervises folks, I'm so torn on this because it very much helps my life to be able to work hybrid.
Right.
Manager, I see how difficult it is sometimes to get certain things done. So I'm super, super torn.
Yeah. Pros and cons, but whatever. It looks like we're getting slowly back to normal after the pandemic. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. We'll see. But Iger has made some changes to keep his guests happy. So that is a good thing. And I don't know what you've read or if this is all new information to you.
No, I've read some. I haven't read in detail because I've been kind of busy, but some of it I think is a really exciting and good move. We talk about the parks a lot. And so most of this is park-based stuff, but I'm really curious. It is. Also, and this stuff is going to take longer to come out, whether or not this affects sort of movie production and things of that sort. But I think there's some big moves being made to really improve park experience. Yeah,
it hasn't been that great.
I mean, honestly, it really hasn't. We've both been to both parks in the last couple of years under the guy who just left, whose name escapes me. And both individual trips and trips together. And there's been some changes that have really not been great for the experience.
No, it hasn't been. So one of the things they're doing, at least for Disneyland right now, is that park hopping, they're still making you make the reservations and everything, but instead of waiting until 1, you are going to be able to park hop at 11. So a little bit earlier.
Huge.
Which is great. Yes. And I think that if you're a Magic Key holder, then your reservation, I need to look at the exact rules when they come out in February, but something like you might not need a reservation if you go after 11 then. So if you are a Magic Key holder.
Because I'm a Magic Key holder, and they haven't sent, at least that I've noticed, like specific things to us, because I think February 4th is the day the changes are making.
Yeah. But
that there's still going to be reservations generally, but that there's going to be specific times where you don't need reservations and you can just kind of show up and go to the parks, which when I was an annual pass holder, when the days before Magic Key, was the great advantage.
Of course.
Of, you know, especially if you lived in Southern California,
of
you
course.
could just be like out hanging out with your friends and be like, hey, let's go stop by the park and ride Space Mountain.
Yep, exactly. Or go for date night, which we did quite often. Yeah, so I'm excited about that. I did hear Disney World is changing too, but they haven't announced anything. I think I saw somewhere that it's going to be an hour. Their change point was at 2 p.m. I think it's going back to 1 just for now, and it might change a little bit later. So making changes over there. Well, for Disneyland, they're going to give you more days at the $104 a day price point. Like I said, it was $179 to get in when we were looking at going over break. That was crazy. I think 104 is crazy, but it's better than 179.
But I mean, I was looking at this and I was like, adjusted for inflation, it's still a lot more than we used to pay, even adjusted for inflation.
Yeah.
But 104 is much more reasonable than 179. Look, I think the thing that proves 179 is too much is you didn't go. If there's not a bigger Disney park fan than you, and you were like, sorry, no, can't do it.
Not for one day, one park.
No, that proves that it's too much.
Yeah, and particularly with the crowds. With the crowds.
That's the thing. You're paying to go and have a bad time.
Right.
You're paying more to have a bad time. Exactly.
Which always was a little weird to me in the first place, but that is true. You pay the premium prices when everybody else is there. So yeah, I'm happy that more days are going to be at the 104 price point. One thing I think is really cool, and I don't know why this is, at Disney World, Walt Disney World in Florida, Disneyland in California, they'll have the same things like Genie Plus, and they'll have the same things like Magic Band, but they work completely differently.
Oh, yeah.
The benefits are completely different.
Yeah.
At
that
both
was
parks.
my big upset when we talked about Magic Band.
Magic Band's right.
I was used to the Magic Band at Disney World, which was great. And at Disneyland, it's like nothing.
Yeah.
It doesn't cost nothing, but it doesn't do anything.
I know. It's so ridiculous. Well, one thing that they're going to add for the Disneyland Genie Plus is that your ride photos will be given for free it's not even for Genie Plus. I'm sorry. I back up a little bit.
For Magic Key holders.
For Disneyland, when you buy Genie Plus, your photos are included.
Right.
Okay. At Disney World, they're not included. You have to buy also a memory maker. So in addition to. But what I wanted to say is that now when you go into Disneyland, every guest for the 100th celebration will be getting their ride photos for free. So you don't have to buy Genie Plus to get your ride photos, which is kind of cool.
That's really cool. And I kind of wonder if it's like, ride photos for me are the kind of thing of like, when they're free, I'm really happy to get them, but I have never once paid for a ride photo.
Oh, God. But I did. I remember back in the day before any of this stuff happened, actually before cell phones. Gosh, I have so many like little 8x10s that we bought of us on Splash Mountain. Yay. It's different now with digital photography, but, before I had a smartphone, before digital photography, it was a big deal to me. That's
part of the point, which is because of digital photography, individual photos are not as valuable. Like we are both of an age that most of our lives, well, maybe not most, but a good chunk of our lives, like, photos were hard to get. You had to own a camera and you had to have film, and then you had to take the camera at the right point, and film was expensive. So you didn't take bursts of photos.
Yep.
And then
bursts.
Take it to Thrifty, ice cream and drugstore and get it developed and come back a week late. I mean, it was just, I still have boxes of photos in my closet that I'm like, I want to just put in my printer and do digitize them. But it's nowadays like, yeah, one photo. I'm not paying money for one photo.
I know. So anyway, that's a cool thing. So every guest for the 100th celebration, which starts, by the way, on January 27th. And I know that because not only is it posted everywhere, but my daughter is now on the team that runs all of those events. So all of those new celebration events coming to the West Coast of Disney. She's on that team now. So very exciting, and get to hear some behind the scenes stuff from that. Cool.
I originally had a reservation for January 27th. I was just going to go down just to be a goofball. But now I got a work thing that I can't do, but I definitely need to plan more trips. And so I'm going to need Emma to give me the real critical dates that would be a good for me to be there.
I know. It would be nice. I thought about the 27th as well, but it's not worth it to me right now with the crowds. And that's just me. I can't do it.
Well, and I
don't live down there.
It's an easier thing for me because I am a Magic Key holder and I live in California. I could drive if I wanted to, but I usually fly. But it's not as big a deal for me to get down to the park as it is you're in another state.
It's just not, and I want to make it worth it when I go. So anyway, I'm excited to hear about it though, for sure. And talking about Magic Key, there are going to be more opportunities to buy your Magic Key. It was really limited before, so now they're opening that up as well for Disneyland. And again, Disneyland, call it Magic Key. At Disney World, you're still calling it annual pass holder. Or passport. I will never understand. But okay. So much for synergy.
Well, but here's the thing. I think for most people, that's not an issue because most people are not going to both parks, right? Like you and I, because we're Disney fans, right?
Yeah.
Are going to both Disneyland and Disney World and have strong opinions about each and are comparing. I'd say 99% of people in their life is going to go to either one or the other and never have any need to sort of compare the distinction.
I don't know, but I do think that the people that go to Disneyland often and then fly to Disney World for that once-in-a-lifetime trip or vice versa, they're disappointed because they think they know how things are going to work and then they don't work the same way. So I've heard the disappointments.
But I think that number is so small that the work it would take to align things is not worth the 1,000 people who are like, but I wish I had my glasses on. Excuse me, but at Disneyland, it is called the Magic Key, and at Disney World, it's called the annual pass holder. And has it stopped you from attending both parks?
No.
So they're not losing.
I still don't like it. All right. Let's go to the changes at Disney World. Tron is finally coming.
Finally. How long has that been?
April 4th.
Oh, my God.
A long time because it was supposed to open 2022, but then COVID and then the stopping. So when we were there in November, we did see the Tron light cycles going through, being tested, and even my husband is really excited about this. He always comes to Disney and he always says he's going kicking and screaming, but that's not true. But even right now, he said, "Oh, Tron is something I want to see." So
it's funny. Ed says he's coming kicking and screaming, but we've always had a great time.
Who do you think is buying the DVC points, people? It ain't me on my teacher salary. So, and another thing, I saw the funniest tweet about this, but another thing is that if you're at Disney World, you were having to pay for parking at the hotels. Now hotel parking is included. I saw the funniest tweet. It was somebody that shared a picture of the Contemporary at $900 a night, right? And it says Disney adults be like, "Yay, free parking!" But then it's like, $900 a night, people. Like we're okay with that.
Free parking,
Free parking. So that's great. As a DVC member, we always got free parking in the first place. But something you may not know is that if you stay at a hotel, you also get free parking in the resort. So if you don't want to wait, this is really interesting. It is, but this was really interesting to me last time, and it was because they were so short-staffed. Usually Disney's all about their transportation. Take the transportation, leave your car at the hotel. Don't worry about transportation. Last time they were like, hey, you can drive here and it'll be faster. I think they were so short-staffed on transportation and everything, and the buses were taking a little bit longer. They were actually like advocating driving to the parks, which I thought was interesting. So
new and interesting, particularly, and I think it's been one of the key points that has caused a lot of problems at the parks is they just don't have enough staff.
Yeah.
They just don't have enough people to work to make some of the experiences would be so much, nicer just with more people, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's true.
I mean,
and I know that
I was just going to say my experience isn't Disney, but on the cruise was they have these specialty restaurants and they kept running out of reservations. And then I got a reservation and I would go to a restaurant and it was like mostly empty. And what I found out is the limit of reservations isn't the spaces. It's
right.
They don't have enough people they don't have enough servers
to
make it. So they had to cut down the number of reservations. So I think
that happens a lot. Yep. Agreed. So anyway, that should be exciting for some people there on the Walt Disney side of things. Also, Happily Ever After, the Magic Kingdom fireworks show is coming back, which is great. A lot of people were very upset when that was leaving. Emma, I know, is very happy that's coming back. That was one of her favorites. But Harmonious, the show at Epcot that was there for the 50th anniversary, is leaving, and they're going to do another Epcot nighttime spectacular show. So I like Harmonious. I
like Harmonious. I very much like them to do a 100 years show, but at this point, since the 100 years is just about to start and they haven't announced anything, but
they're announcing it in February.
Oh, maybe that's it. Disneyland's supposed to have all kinds of cool redress for the 100th. So I
really?
Well, and I'll definitely be going down in March for WonderCon, but I kind of feel like I need to go down earlier as well, just to kind of make sure that I have a day to spend just at Disneyland.
Well, I did show a reel on our Instagram about some of the 100th merchandise that just came out. You guys, it's not my favorite color palette. It's not my favorite design. So I'm a little bit bummed, but whatever. A lot of people like it. Fernando ended up getting a really cool jacket with the the big celebration logo on the back. It's platinum, so it's a lot of purples and silver. But so far, nothing that I had to have.
Not my favorite color palette, although I'm really excited. And we saw this, and I think we put a photo up about it at when we were at D23. The D23 members gift is really cool because it's that Mickey statue.
Oh, the Mickey statue. I won't be getting that for a while though, but
me either, because my membership is renews towards the end of the cycle.
Right.
I'm just glad that I'm getting it.
It does look cool. People are excited about that one too. So those are all the changes that I did. Oh, did I miss anything? I have one more thing to say, but did I miss anything on the changes?
I mean, there's so many changes. It's hard to say. I think at some point I want to really dig into the Magic Key changes, and we probably should revisit how Magic Key works now, because there's been so many changes in the Magic Key program since it came back.
And if it's worth it.
To look at whether it's worth it again.
Right. Okay, so Mice Chat is the Disney blog, one of the Disney blogs that I follow. And every year they have something called the Gumball Rally. February 4th, it's happening this year. Every year I say I'm going to do it next year. That has not happened yet. And it's also not going to happen in 2023. I'm so sad, but maybe 2024.
Is.
What? Yes, I will tell you what the Gumball Rally is. What the Gumball Rally is you sign up in anywhere from teams of 2 to 4, and you enter Disneyland, and it's whoever can ride the most rides that day, you get the prize. And they have all kinds of prizes and everything like that. And it's just done by this blog and a travel site, and it's really cool. And I really want to do it. So I'll put the link on our show notes to Mice Chat, and the link, if you can do it, I think it would be amazing. So February 4th.
February? So
February 4th,
I think as a commitment for Dueling Disney, that you and I should plan on doing it in 2024.
Okay, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
You're getting surgery in February.
Yes.
This February.
Yes.
Does that mean you're going to be able to bust your ass to get?
That's my point. Is like this year I would be not an advantageous person, but I think next year I will have a new hip. And I should be able to, like, you know.
You might have to train for this just like we trained for the 10K.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
All right. I'm just saying. I know. I'm just saying. I told Fernando and Emma, I said, if you guys want to do it this year, I'll pay your way. But they can't. They have plans on that day. But they're like, next year we're in.
Well, we can just beat them. We have 2 teams of 2 each.
Oh, my God. We have to do that.
Absolutely.
We have to do that.
Yeah.
You're right. Okay,
I mean,
fair enough.
why do you think I'm getting surgery? Literally, one of the reasons I'm getting surgery is my doctor was like, well, what things can't you do now that, you know, would necessitate doing surgery? I was like, look, last time I went to Disneyland, I was in pain pretty much the whole day, and that cannot be. And then Disney
Can't
World.
have that.
Yeah. Like, I'm not going to spend the rest of my life dreading a trip to Disneyland. It's just not going to be a thing.
That's funny. And that's what my old husband is saying about his knees, too. What are you going to do when I can't come with you anymore? I'm like, shut up. He won't be in a scooter, right? He will not be in a scooter. I think you, honestly, if you weren't getting surgery, you need a scooter. I know I make fun of scooters, but your hip is crap.
My hip is crap. We just bought my dad a scooter for his birthday.
So we'll see what happens after. I mean, this is like, we never thought we would be having this conversation 25 years ago, but now we're having the conversation. So there you go.
Now, to be fair, I am fairly young for hip replacement. So, you know, but it's bone.
I just had a friend who had a hip replacement too. She's 55.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying.
Anyway.
Anyway.
This is the Elders of Disney podcast.
It is. That's what we're going to be calling ourselves, the Disney Elders. We were in the dueling business. And when I was young, we didn't have scooters.
Used to be
and we liked it.
We only had pineapple Dole Whip. We didn't have this raspberry.
We didn't have the raspberry stuff. There were no mixing of the whips.
And let me tell you, I love the raspberry Dole Whip. It's so good.
Well, speaking of old people, this is a great segue into what I want to talk about today, other than the changes. So, when Ed and I were down in Palm Springs for winter break, we were able to go check out the neighborhood that Cotino, the new neighborhood by Storyliving by Disney, is going to be in. And as you know or may not know, Palm Springs is very popular with the elderly set. So it was interesting. We had talked about Storyliving by Disney when it was first announced last year, kind of had our thoughts about it. And, was it a good idea? Was it not a good idea? My opinions have changed a little bit. I think I was more against it last year, but now after being in Palm Springs for a week and the surrounding area, I can see where it might be a good thing, but also I can see a lot of cons. So, Cotino is the name of the neighborhood. Storyliving by Disney is the name of the concept. Disney apparently does not own the area. This is just their ideas. So I don't know if they're licensing the idea, the name, whatever.
I would imagine it's basically they're the developer. And then
no, they're not the developer. They're not the developer. No, it's developed by a whole different company. The company that develops it has properties in Arizona and in California. I want to say Texas, but they're known for their community planning, right? Their
high-end sort of residential retirement community.
Yeah. Well, not just retirement communities, because it's going to be in everything.
Yeah.
Right? Cotino's going to be everybody. But they will have a specific part that is for 55 and up, which I think is really interesting. And they are promoting that. I don't know if that's going to be the first part to open.
Right.
Because they're promoting it pretty heavily. But it really is going to be an area for everyone. If you are familiar with the Palm Springs area, it's in Rancho Mirage. And what's the name of it? There's a museum, a garden museum. Sunnyland Center and Gardens is right across the street on Bob Hope Drive. So the boundaries, if you're looking on a map in Rancho Mirage, it's between Gerald Ford Drive and Frank Sinatra Drive on the north and the south. And then on the east and the west, it's Bob Hope Drive and Monterey Avenue. And there's this huge area, this huge, like, couple block area that it's going to go in. And it looks really small when I look at it in person, because I maybe just seeing the pictures, I think of it as so much bigger. We were also lucky enough to see the area from up top because when Ed and I went on the Palm Springs aerial tram, I was able to see it from the summit. So see all the grading of it and the construction starting and things like that. So anyway.
So I have so many questions about it, but first of all, it seems like they're really not shooting for the young crowd with names like Bob Hope Drive and Gerald Ford Lane.
But that's already there. That's been there forever.
Boulevard and all that kind of stuff.
Don't forget Dinosaur. We passed Dinosaur as well. So.
And I'm like, even I am like, oh, wait a minute. Who was Gerald?
I'm sure.
But like, okay. So Palm Springs, I thought originally was an interesting location because Palm Springs is in the desert, just really in the desert, which is where you find a lot of retirement communities. B, not really close. Like a lot of these things you do it because it'd be close to like LA or things like that. It's not really close to LA. It's a bit of a hike to get to like the main cities and main attractions.
About 2 hours away from LA.
About 2 hours away from LA. Nowhere near Vegas. Like it's kind of in the middle of the desert. It's out now for those out of California. It's a very popular resort community. A lot of people go to Palm Springs for their holidays and vacations from other parts of Southern California, but generally older people. And so I guess my first question is Disney historically has really focused on families with kids and that age. And so I'm curious, it feels like a little outside of the target demographic, but you spent a week in Palm Springs. What do you think?
I think there's more families there than I thought at first. I think that when we visit there, we just assume there are so many retirement communities there. It's not even funny.
Yeah.
And then the actual area, the actual city of Palm Springs is a little bit more family oriented. This is in Rancho Mirage, which is a little bit south of Palm Springs, maybe about 10 minutes south of Palm Springs. There's a lot of like timeshare resorts around, like Shadow Ridge, Marriott Shadow Ridge is right next to it. Indian Wells is a popular community, and that's even about 10 minutes further south of Rancho Mirage. I think it's building out there. It's just, we were there at a great time because we were there in December, which was mildly pleasant, but holy crap, I've been to Palm Springs in the summertime.
In the summer. It is awful.
It's not fun. It's not fun.
And for those who don't know what we mean by that, when we say desert and we say California, like people who haven't spent time in Southern California kind of don't understand. When we say not fun, we're talking about temperatures in the high 110s, maybe peaking into 120, dry, not humid, extremely dry because it's in the desert, no wind, like just, you do not want to be outside. Brutal sun. Yeah. It is unpleasant.
That being said, coming from, I love Portland, but I'm not going to lie. It is depressing when you don't see the sun for 3 months at a time. I was very happy in Palm Springs in December. I just loved that sun. What I didn't love, and this appeals to a lot of people, but my aesthetic is really trees, having a lot of trees around, evergreens, things like that, which is why I live in the Northwest. There's not that there, right? No. It's completely brown.
Yeah.
There's some green,
and to
but
be
it's
fair,
like the hills.
The desert landscape is really very appealing to some people. It's not my
particular
aesthetic, but for some people, it's great.
But the plans of the planned community look freaking incredible. And they say that the houses will be going for market price around the area. And it's not as expensive as on the coast.
Right.
You know what I mean? There are some affordable houses if California speaking. I would say that the house prices in Portland and the house prices in Palm Springs, very similar.
Oh, that's interesting.
If you're coming from the Midwest,
outside of California, anything along the California coast is ridiculous.
Ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Ridiculous. Like we passed our old house in Irvine while we were down there. And I think it was 1,600 square feet is going for like 1.2 million in Irvine. It's not even by the water. So, that's absolutely ridiculous. So when you get into Palm Springs and you find out that you can get a 2,000 square foot house for 6 to 7, that's about, you're looking at what Portland is too. So
which is extremely expensive for most of the country, but for California and West Coast, for California, that's super affordable, quite frankly. Well, I won't say affordable. It's definitely lower cost than most of the other parts of California. It's closer to Central Valley. Well, it's more than Central Valley, but not that much.
There are times when I was down there where I was like, yeah, I totally want to live here. I totally want to look more into this. And then there were times I was down there like, I can't do this. California has no water. California's taxes are sky high. If this is going to be a retirement community and California taxes their Social Security income, who, Disney, are you going to pull to live here? And that's where my question is. Who's going to go? Who's going to go? Because a lot of Disney people, diehard Disneys, they go to Florida a lot. And if you live in California, you already know where you want to live. It's not like you want to move to the desert if you're not already there.
Right.
It's not like you live in Orange County area, you live in the Bay Area, and you're like, oh, I can't wait till I go to the desert.
Right.
So who's going to go, I think, is my question.
And it's my question too, but I also think if you look at the sort of things that they have to compare it to, and these aren't one-for-one comparisons because they're very different type of communities. There is Celebration in Florida, which hasn't been Disney related for 20 years, but
very long time.
Very long time. But there's also that very high-end community on Disney property,
Golden Oaks,
which those places are ridiculously expensive, and they pretty much sold all of those. Well,
to celebrities,
right? But that's
and those are huge mansions. Those aren't townhomes,
right? And so. Again, that's why there's not a one-to-one comparison, but I got to imagine on some level, the Disney people are nuts.
Yeah.
Right? And we are two of the nuts. I know. And so Disney people are willing to pay a premium. So of all the people we've interacted with over the years.
I know.
I do think, if it's not huge, there is a percentage of people who are willing to pay 25% more than they would pay for a house just because it's Disney affiliated.
Fair enough.
Or more,
Don't forget, too, that if you live there, you pay extra for the community amenities. So just living there doesn't get you access to
the HOA has got to be
exclusive.
A nightmare.
Oh, my God. Plus the HOA, which does not include your community private beach and all that kind of stuff. So it's money on top of money on top of money, which is the Disney way.
Right.
I don't know. I go back and forth. Like if we made the decision to move there, I wouldn't be surprised. But then if we made the decision not to, I also wouldn't be surprised. I don't know the answer.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things that depends on your disposition, right? Like you and I both love Disney, but there's things we were talking earlier about the Disney cruise line. There are limits for me in terms of value to what I get out of it, right? I still feel very much that I get value out of my Magic Key, that I go and it's worth what I spend. The cruise, there's not the value proposition there for me. The Storyliving, can't really see the value proposition as it's laid out and at my income, right? There are people, and have
a high income, whether or not
I have a high income relative to the national average. I don't have a high income relative to people in the Bay Area.
Fair enough.
But if I was making what I make in another part of the country, I'd be Mr. Potter from It's a Wonderful Life. I'd be the richest man in town.
No, you wouldn't. You'd still be cheap.
Oh yeah, no.
I mean, you might have it in the bank, but you'd still be cheap.
Yes, when you grow up poor, it's really hard to.
I know.
But the value proposition of what you get out of that, in my brain, is like I'm paying for this experience ongoing. Or if I really want to have that experience, just go to Disneyland for a couple days.
Yeah.
Like to have it. And quite frankly, as much of a Disney guy as I am, I could see that getting old real quick. Like I would imagine.
That's another thing.
I would imagine, and you've lived in these communities, and I haven't, where you've got these super controlling HOAs. Can you imagine?
Every community we have is an HOA. Yeah,
right?
I know.
Can you imagine how
I know.
the Disney control, and even if Disney leaves, the people who are put themselves on the board for a
that's celebration.
Right?
That's celebration in Florida. Disney hasn't been part of it in a long time, but if you go there, it's probably one of the least diverse, most expensive HOA, most strict HOA places.
Right.
It's beautiful. I love going there.
That if you put up a Christmas tree and the window is open and I put a Batman ornament on the Christmas tree, I'm going to get kicked out of the Disney, right?
You're not even allowed to be on the podcast if you have that.
I know this will be blurred later, but if you're watching the YouTube, this is a Batman hat and a Batman and Nightwing shirt. And I know Andy's going to blur it before it goes out.
Oh, my goodness gracious. I don't know. Here's the other thing that I'm wondering. A lot of people in Palm Springs, they have their winter and summer homes and they rent out like an Airbnb or something when they're not in there. I wonder if Disney rules will have anything saying if you can do that and can't.
Oh, that is going to be one of the biggest tensions, because I would say that I would buy it as an investment property, because I know Disney.
I don't know if they'll let you, though. I'm really curious to see.
I think that's going to be a huge tension. Yeah. Here's the other thing. Palm Springs is a big vacation spot for the LGBTQ community as well.
Absolutely.
And it's been that way for years. A lot of folks, friends of mine, have gone down for the Dinah Shore Invitational, and other friends of mine just go to Palm Springs every weekend because it's a cool, fun place to enjoy each other's company, right? And I could see that the Disney folks.
Well, the Disney folks on the West Coast. No, I think the Disney folks on the West Coast are actually LGBTQ allies. I think it's on the East Coast. Where you might have more of a problem.
Well, and I could see a lot of people from that community buying into the Disney community.
Yeah, me too.
I could see there being a huge overlap, which would
that's because they get the cast member discount.
I'm not going to lie.
All of them work for Disney.
Would then make it a lot of fun to live there.
Yeah, no kidding. Oh, so much better. I don't know. Yeah, I came away with a lot of answers, and now I have more questions. So I'm really glad we saw it. Ed's like, why do you want to go see an empty lot? It really, really answered a lot of questions for me. I wanted to see exactly where it was. I think it's in a beautiful neighborhood. We were kind of interested. I mean, there are planned communities surrounding it. So we're kind of interested to see what the value of those communities is going to do when Disney brings their stuff in. I mean, how is that going to raise too? It's in a beautiful area. It's really close to the 10 freeway. So, but also close to, what is that? The California 111 that goes down Palm Springs and all through the desert. It's in a good location. So I don't know.
I'm really interested in seeing sort of where it goes. I'm trying to think how much money I would have to have in the bank before I would justify buying a place there.
I just want to see what the prices are.
A lot more than I have right now.
And they say all the information says that it's going to be early 2023 when they start sharing the prices and everything like that. But even, I mean, I'll share the pictures. I'm going to make a reel for Instagram, and then I'll share. If you're watching YouTube right now, you can see as well. You can see that nothing, had been done construction. Like there's no building yet. It's still all land,
grading and preparing
infrastructure.
Yeah, but for home construction, it's not like building a park where it's like once you've got the grading and sort of the infrastructure in,
it goes up really quick. Yeah,
the houses go up really quick.
Yeah. So,
and I would imagine where it's located, there's probably a lot of infrastructure already there.
That is true.
Yeah, so it's not going to take very long to get this up and running, at least to get some models built.
All right, everyone. Now I want your opinion. I know we asked for opinions before, but now hearing this new information, I want opinions again. So, YouTube friends, you can comment below And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you want to, you can join our friends over on Facebook at the Dueling Disney Community Duelist Facebook page. Say that 10 times fast. But I love the community that we have over there. And thanks you guys who are part of it for sharing and sharing your opinions with us. I really appreciate that as well. So other than YouTube and the podcast you're listening on, you can find us at duelingdisney.com. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Dueling Disney or hashtag Dueling Disney. You'll see it there. And then we would love it if you left a review anywhere that you watch or listen to Dueling Disney.
To all that come to this happy place, welcome. Dueling Disney is your podcast. Here, age relives fond memories of the past, and here youth may savor the challenge and promise of the future. Dueling Disney is dedicated to the ideals, the dreams, and the hard facts that created America, with hope that it will be a source of joy and inspiration to the world.